You may be wondering why life feels heavy, like you're carrying around burdens you were never meant to carry. Sometimes, it's not what's happening around us that weighs us down. It's what's happening within us. The regrets, the offenses, the bitterness, the disappointments, they begin to pile up. Before we know it, we're so full of the negative, there's no room for the blessings, the peace, and the joy that God wants to pour in. Today, I want to encourage you. It's time to do some spiritual cleaning. It's time to let go of what's behind so you can embrace what's ahead. You weren't designed to carry everything. You were designed to release, to forgive, to grow, and to rise. There are moments in life when we do everything right. Pre-plan, we prepare, we give it our all. Yet the results don't align with our expectation. That business deal falls, the relationship doesn't survive. The opportunity closes before it ever opens. And if we're not careful, we start carrying those disappointments with us. We dwell on the outcome, replaying the conversation, second-guessing our choices, and wondering why things didn't go as planned. But the truth is, no matter how hard you try, some things are simply beyond your reach. You were never meant to carry the responsibility of outcomes you can't control. Your job is obedience. The results are... Many people live stressed and frustrated because they're trying to manage things they were never created to manage. They're trying to control how other people act, trying to change someone's opinion, trying to fix a problem that's out of their hands. But trying to control the uncontrollable is like trying to catch the wind. You'll wear yourself out mentally, emotionally, and even physically, chasing after things that aren't yours to fix. That's not just existence, it's defeating. And there's incredible freedom in learning to let go. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means releasing what was never your burden in the first place. It means saying, God, I don't understand this situation, but I trust you with it. It means choosing peace over anxiety, choosing rest over worry, choosing faith over fear. When you release it, you're not giving up. You're handing it over to someone who's stronger, wiser, and always in control. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. Some of the greatest stress in our lives doesn't come from what's happening to us, but from how tightly we're holding on. We grip that disappointment so tightly, we can't see the new door God is opening. We're so focused on that one rejection that we miss the blessing right in front of us. Letting go clears your vision. It gives you space to dream again, space to heal, space to move forward without dragging yesterday's weight behind you. Often, we try to fix everything because we think if we just try harder, it will all fall into place. But the truth is, sometimes the more you strive, the more frustrated you become. That's a sign. It's time to step back. It's not a sign of failure. It's a sign of wisdom. It's understanding that God sees what you can't see. He knows the future. He knows what relationships will bless you and which ones will break you. He knows which opportunities are right and which ones are distraction. If something didn't work out, trust that He's still ordering your steps. You weren't created to be burdened down with anxiety, fear, or pressure. You were created to walk in peace. That peace comes when you surrender the outcome. When you say, God, I've done my part, now I'm trusting you with the rest. That's when you'll see breakthrough. That's when you'll find strength again. That's when you'll feel lighter. Not because the situation has changed, but because your heart has shifted. When you let go, you're making room. Room for joy to rise again. Room for your faith to stretch. Room for new things to begin. Sometimes the reason we feel stuck is because we're still clinging to what's over. We're holding on to the old so tightly. There's no space for the new to take root. But life is seasonal. Just because something worked in one season doesn't mean it's meant to stay in the next. And just because something ended doesn't mean God doesn't have something greater ahead. It takes faith to release. It takes trust to walk forward without having all the answers. But remember, the same God who brought you through in the past is the same God who's going before you now. He's not asking you to have it all figured out. He's simply asking you to trust Him with what you don't understand. Some of you today need to stop trying to change someone who doesn't want to change. Stop carrying the pressure, trying to please everyone. Stop replaying what went wrong. It's time to say, I'm not going to carry this anymore. I've done what I can do. Now I'm trusting God to do what only He can do. When you live like that, you'll walk lighter. You'll smile more. You'll sleep better. Because you're not carrying weight that doesn't belong to you. Letting go is an act of faith. It's saying, even though it didn't happen the way I hoped, I know God still has a plan. It's believing that what's behind you doesn't compare to what's ahead. When you truly release it, not just with your words, but with your heart, that's when peace flows in like a river. That's when joy becomes your strength again. Remember, your assignment is not to carry everything. It's to walk in trust, to stand in peace, and to move forward with confidence, knowing that you're not alone. God is with you, and as long as He's with you, you don't have to hold on to what's weighing you down. Let it go, and watch what opens up when you do. Unforgiveness is one of the heaviest weights a person can carry. You may not see it, and others might not notice it right away, but it quietly settles into the soul. Over time, it builds walls, it steals peace, it clouds your vision. Holding onto offense, bitterness, and resentment doesn't punish the person who hurt you, it only keeps you imprisoned. Many people are not being held back by lack of talent or opportunity or faith. They're being held back because their heart is cluttered with the weight of what someone did to them. That betrayal, that harsh word, that broken promise, it's real, it's painful, but you don't have to carry it forever. You weren't designed to be a storage place for anger or envy. You were created to walk in love, peace, and freedom. When you hold on to unforgiveness, you're drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer. But in reality, you're the one slowly losing your joy, your strength, your clarity. Life gets dimmer, dreams feel further, and progress becomes slower. Not because God isn't ready to bless you, but because your heart is too full of the past to embrace the future. Forgiveness isn't about saying what they did was okay. It's not about pretending you weren't hurt. It's not about letting them off the hook. It's about setting yourself free. When you forgive, you're not changing the past. You're changing the way it affects your present and shapes your future. Choosing not to let one moment of pain steal years of peace, that's a powerful decision. It's not weakness, it's spiritual maturity. It's the strength to say, I won't let what they did keep controlling how I feel, how I think, how I live. There are people walking through life today still carrying wounds from 10, 20, even 30 years ago. And those wounds aren't just emotional. They're affecting their relationships, their self-esteem, their spiritual growth. Every time they try to move forward, that memory pulls them back. Every time joy tries to rise, the bitterness pulls it down. But here's the truth. You can't live fully in the present if you're still chained to the past. The key to those chains is forgiveness. It's not a feeling, it's a choice. You may not feel like you don't deserve it. But forgiveness is not for them. It's for you. Sometimes the hardest person to forgive is someone close to us. A parent who wasn't there. A friend who turned on us. A spouse who betrayed trust. And the closer the relationship, the deeper the wound. But even then, especially then, you must choose to release it. Because if you don't, you'll find yourself stuck replaying scenes over and over, imagining what you should have said or done, stuck in a cycle that leads nowhere. That's not living. You might say, I've tried to forgive, but I can't forget. Forgiveness doesn't always erase the memory, but it does remove the sting. Over time, what once caused you tears will no longer have control over your emotions. What once hurt you deeply will become a testimony of how far you've come. But it begins with that decision. I choose to let it go. I choose to release it. I choose to rise above it. Forgiveness opens the door for healing. It's the soil in which new joy, new peace, and new strength can grow. It makes room for fresh blessings. When your heart is free, your vision becomes clear. You'll start hearing God's voice more clearly, walking in favor more easily, and stepping into your purpose more confidently. Because now there's space for all of that to flourish. And here's something else. Sometimes you have to forgive yourself. You're carrying guilt from a decision you made, a wrong turn, a season where you weren't at your best. But you're not that mistake. You're not what happened back then. God has already forgiven you. Now it's time to release yourself. Stop reliving the shame. Stop carrying the regret. That's a chapter, not the whole book. You are more than your past. If someone hurt you, don't give them permanent space in your heart. Don't let them keep hurting you by holding on to the pain. You're not to miss the benefit, though. You're doing it so you can sleep peacefully, love freely, dream boldly, and move forward powerfully. When you let it go, God will begin to restore what was broken. He'll give you beauty for ashes, joy for mourning, and strength for every weakness. But you have to take that first step. The healing begins when you release the hurt. Unforgiveness may feel justified, but it's not worth the cost. Don't let someone who hurt you once continue to rob you over and over again in your thoughts, your emotion, your energy. Make the decision today to break free. Say it, this stops now. I'm not going to carry this anger into another day. I'm not going to allow this offense to shape my future. I release them, and I release myself. You were made to soar, not to stay grounded by the past. Choose freedom. Choose peace. When you release the weight of unforgiveness, you'll step into a new level of joy, purpose, and breakthrough like never before. One of the most silent but destructive forces working against your purpose isn't coming from the outside. It's not what people said, not what they think, not what didn't work out. It's what you tell yourself. It's that inner voice that whispers, "You're not good enough, you'll never get it right, you don't have what it takes." And if you don't learn to shut that voice down, it will slowly eat away at your confidence, your courage, and your calling. Self-doubt isn't just a thought, it's a thief. It steals potential, it robs momentum, and it suffocates dreams before they even have a chance to grow. You weren't created to live questioning yourself. You weren't meant to walk through life, second-guessing every decision, every step, every talent. When you constantly feed that voice of doubt, you shrink your own vision. You start talking yourself out of opportunities that were meant for you. You begin lowering your expectations to match your fears. And the more you feed those thoughts, the stronger they become. What could have been a moment of growth becomes a lifetime of hesitation. Some people don't move forward, not because they don't have the ability, because they've convinced themselves they're unqualified. They let insecurity talk them out of destiny. I can't apply for that job. I'm not smart enough to go back to school. I'm too old to start again. That's the voice of doubt. And it's lying to you. You have everything you need inside you right now to take the next step. But it won't come alive until you silence the negative and start believing what God says about you. Every time you choose to agree with doubt, you're disagreeing with your purpose. You're saying yes to fear and a no to faith. But your Creator didn't make you to live intimidated. He gave you gifts. He gave you strength. He put greatness inside of you. But if you keep feeding the narrative that says, I can't, you'll never discover the power in I can. And you don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to start. Confidence doesn't always come before the step. It comes because you stepped. Think about a seed planted in the ground. It doesn't look like much. It's buried, unseen, small, but inside that tiny shell is a tree, a forest, a future. Your life is like that. You might not feel like much right now. You might be in a season where nothing is visible, where progress feels slow, where questions seem louder than answers. But the truth is, something is growing inside of you. Something is developing. But if you keep feeding self-doubt, it's like pouring poison on the soil. It prevents growth, it stunts progress, and eventually it convinces you to quit before you ever see results. Stop giving your energy to thoughts that only pull you down. Stop rehearsing every weakness, every flaw, every insecurity. That's not humility, that's sabotage. True humility isn't thinking less of yourself the way God thinks of you. And He says you are chosen. He says you are capable. He says you are more than a conqueror. That's the truth you need to feed. Because whatever you feed will grow. If you feed faith, it grows. If you feed doubt, doubt grows. The choice is yours. You may have failed before. You may have been overlooked, underappreciated, even rejected. But none of that changes what God put in you. The gifts didn't disappear. The purpose wasn't canceled. What you've been through doesn't disqualify you. It prepared you. But now you have to shift your mindset. You have to stop thinking, why me? And start declaring, why not me? You have to stop sitting on the sidelines and start believing that you're worthy to play in the game. Sometimes the biggest enemy isn't the one outside, it's the one within. And the way you defeat that enemy is by speaking truth louder than the lies. When self-doubt says, you'll never make it, you say, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. When it says, you're too broken, you say, I'm being renewed day by day. When it says, you're not qualified, you say, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. That's how you win the battle. That's how you reclaim your confidence. And don't wait until you feel ready to believe in yourself. Start now. Speak it even if you don't see it. Declare it even when you feel unsure. Confidence isn't the absence of fear, it's a decision to move anyway. And the more you move, the more your confidence will grow. The more you speak life over yourself, the more your spirit will rise. You don't have to be perfect to make progress. You just have to believe that progress is possible. You have a destiny too important to let doubts dictate your decisions. You have a life too meaningful to keep talking yourself out of joy, out of purpose. Don't feed the thoughts that say you're not enough. Starve them, replace them. Speak the opposite, because you are enough. You've always been enough. You just have to start believing it. The moment you stop feeding self-doubt is the moment you give your destiny permission to breathe. And when you do, you'll feel something shift. The weight lifts. The vision sharpens. The courage comes alive. That's when you'll step into everything you were meant to be. There's nothing the enemy would love more than to keep you stuck in a cycle of replaying old mistakes, revisiting old wounds, and reliving moments that no longer exist. The past can be a powerful teacher, but it was never meant to be a permanent residence. Yet so many people are living today in a prison of yesterday. They carry around memories like shackles, things they should have let go of years ago. They dwell on who hurt them, what they lost, and where it all went wrong. And little by little, those memories become mindsets. Those flashbacks become foundation. Before they know it, the past isn't just behind them, it's leading them. But you were never meant to live life constantly looking in the rearview mirror. If you keep your eyes locked on what's behind you, you'll miss what's in front of you. You can't step into the new things God has for you if your heart is still chained to what happened back then. It may have been unfair. It may have hurt deeply. It may have shaped who you are. But it doesn't have to define where you're going. You are more than your past. Every time you relive the pain, you reopen the wound. You delay the healing. You prolong the breakthrough. Some people think that by rehearsing what they've been through, they're staying strong, keeping their guard up. But in reality, they're just reinforcing the pain. Replaying it in your mind doesn't protect you. It imprisons you. It locks you in a moment that's already over. And no matter how much you replay it, you can't change it. But you can change what it does to you going forward. You don't have to deny what happened. You don't have to pretend it didn't hurt. But you do have to decide, am I going to let this moment control my life? Or am I going to use it as fuel to rise? You can't relive the pain and receive the promise at the same time. At some point you have to say, that was then, this is now. You can't move forward if your soul is still camped out in yesterday's disappointment. So many dreams are delayed not because the dream isn't real, but because the dreamer is still stuck in regret. You're still beating yourself up over what you didn't do, what you should have done, how you handled it wrong. But God is not holding that over you. So why are you holding it over yourself? Grace is not a theory. It's a gift. And until you forgive yourself, you'll always struggle to move forward. The longer you dwell on what you did wrong, the less energy you have to do what's right now. And maybe it's not even something you did. Maybe it was what someone did to you. They lied, they betrayed you, they left. And every time you think about it, the emotions come flooding back. Anger, hurt, confusion. But the more you revisit it, the more space it takes up in your heart. That person already hurt you once. Don't give them the power to keep hurting you over and over through your thoughts. You can't change what they did, but you can change how long you carry it. When you refuse to relive the past, you're making a decision to live fully in the present. That's where your power is. That's where your joy lives. That's where God does his best work. In the now. He's not in your regret. He's in your next step. He's not waiting for you to rewrite yesterday to today. That's why the enemy keeps trying to pull your attention backward, because he knows he can't stop what God is about to do, but he can distract you from seeing it. The past only has the power you give it. It can't follow you into your future unless you keep carrying it. Drop it. Release it. Learn from it, but don't live in it. The shame, the guilt, the loss, the failure. Let it go, but it's over. You survived. You made it through. Now it's time to live like it. Stop mourning what God already healed. Stop talking about what's behind you and start declaring what's ahead. You have to start seeing yourself not through the lens of who you were, but who you're becoming. You're not broken. You're being rebuilt. You're not finished. You're still rising. The past didn't cancel for it. Those scars aren't proof of defeat. They're proof that you're still here. And that means purpose is still alive. Don't waste another day dragging yesterday into today. Don't keep trying to edit a story that's already been written. Blue pages are waiting. Fresh grace is available. You don't have to keep cycling through the same emotional patterns. Today can be the day it stops. Today can be the day you say, I'm not going back there. Not in my mind, not in my heart, not my emotion. And when you do, something powerful happens. The grip of the past begins to break. Clarity returns, joy resurfaces, peace takes root. You're not your mistakes. You're not your trauma. You're not your lowest moment. You are a child of purpose. And your future is too valuable to waste by staring into the shadows of yesterday. It's time to refuse to relive the past and start walking boldly into what's next. Sometimes the weight we carry in life isn't just from our own thoughts or past mistakes. It's from the people we've allowed into our space. Not everyone connected to your life is connected to your destiny. Some people are not assigned to go where God is taking you. And if you're going to rise higher, if you're going to walk in peace and purpose, you have to learn how to detach from toxic influences. You weren't created to live under the constant drain of negativity, manipulation, jealousy, or drama. That's not love. That's not loyalty. That's a distraction disguised as companionship. Toxic influence doesn't always look destructive at first. Sometimes it looks familiar. Sounds like a friend. Shares your history. It may even have a good heart. But if being around them makes you question your worth, lose your peace, compromise your values, or lower your standards, that's not a healthy connection. It's a toxic one. You don't need people who only cheer for you when you're down. You don't need voices that constantly remind you of who you used to be. You need people who pull the greatness out of you, who speak life into your future, who call you higher. Just because someone has been in your life for a long time doesn't mean they're meant to stay for a lifetime. God brings people into our lives for seasons, for reasons, and for assignments. But some people outstay their purpose. And holding on too long can block the blessings God is trying to bring in. Some of you have been feeling drained, confused, or stuck, not because you're not praying enough or working hard enough, but because you're still connected to what God is asking you to release. You cannot reach your full potential while staying attached to what constantly pulls you backward. You can't climb higher when your circle is weighing you down. You weren't called to carry other people's dysfunction. You can love them, pray for them, be kind, but you do not have to be controlled by them. Sometimes detachment is not about cutting someone off in anger. It's about protecting your peace and preserving your purpose. When God gives you a vision for your future, you must be careful who has access to your ear and your heart. In your heart, toxic influence can come. It might be a friend who always gossips, a relative who constantly criticizes, a partner who manipulates your emotion, or even your own habits that tie you to unhealthy thinking. And here's the truth. Whatever you tolerate will continue. If you keep allowing disrespect, dishonor, or emotional instability into your life, it will eventually shape your minds. It'll begin to wear down your self-worth. You start questioning your value because you're surrounded by people who don't recognize it. But that's not your identity. It's just a reflection of who you're connected to. There's power in saying, love you, but I need space to grow. I care about you, but I can't let you drag me back into cycles I've worked hard to break. That's not pride. That's maturity. That's wisdom. That's choosing purpose over pressure. You weren't created to please everyone. You were created to fulfill a calling, and sometimes that calling requires separation. Not to isolate, but to elevate. You can't be everything God called you to be while constantly managing chaos. Peace is not just a feeling, it's a strategy. Protects your energy. It fuels your creativity. It anchors your spirit. But peace can't grow in toxic soil. If the voices in your life don't align with the voice of God, it's time to reevaluate their access. Just because someone wants access doesn't mean they deserve access. Your time, your attention, treat it like it matters, because it does. And here's something to remember. Detaching from toxic influence doesn't mean you're being judgmental. It means you're being discerning. There's a difference. You're not condemning people, you're protecting what God has placed in you. You fought too hard for your healing. You've come too far to allow old patterns and unhealthy relationships to drag you back. Detachment isn't about rejection. It's about redirection. It's making room for better connections. It's clearing space so that divine alignments can take place. When you let go of toxic voices, God will start bringing the right voices. People who uplift you, encourage you, challenge you, and call out your potential. People who see your future, not just your flaws. People who pour into your life, not constantly drain it. But you can't receive those new connections if you're still clinging to what's toxic. You have to make the exchange. Let go of what's familiar but unhealthy so you can receive what's unfamiliar but destined. Don't feel guilty for choosing peace. Don't feel bad for creating boundaries. That's not selfish. That's stewardship. You're not abandoning people. You're aligning yourself. You're not turning your back on love. You're turning your face toward home. And when you do that, you'll find a new level of clarity, strength, and purpose. You'll wake up with energy again. You'll walk in confidence again, because now you're surrounded by what fuels your future instead of what fights it. You are not required to stay in an atmosphere that chokes your growth. You are not obligated to hold on to what's poisoning your peace. You are free to choose differently. You are free to rise higher. And when you detach from what's toxic, you'll finally have space to breathe, to heal, and to thrive like never before. You can't step into the life you were created for if your heart, mind, and schedule are filled with things that drain your energy and distract your focus. Too often, we say we want peace. We long for purpose. We pray for clarity. Yet we leave no space for it to grow. We're busy with noise, cluttered by opinions, weighed down by responsibilities we were never meant to carry. But peace doesn't just show up. It must be made room for. Purpose doesn't just appear. It has to be prioritized. If you want a life that's anchored, meaningful, and fulfilling, you have to be intentional about what you allow to take up space in your world. There's a reason your phone runs slow when it's overloaded with too many apps running in the background. There's a reason your body gets tired when you never rest. The same principle applies to your soul. When you're filled with anxiety, cluttered with comparison, surrounded by chaos, there's no room for peace to settle. There's no space for purpose to rise. That's why you can't say yes to everything and expect to feel balanced. You can't fill every minute, every conversation, every thought with busyness and expect to feel calm. You have to make space for what really matters. Peace is not the absence of problems. It's the presence of intentional alignment. It's knowing that even in the middle of uncertainty, you're grounded in what you're called to do. It's the kind of calm that doesn't come from everything going right, but from knowing you're in the right place with the right mindset and the right perspective. That kind of peace doesn't come by accident. It comes when you say no to the noise, when you turn off the distractions, when you pull away long enough to reset your spirit. Peace shows up in the quiet, and that quiet has to be carved out, not stumbled upon, and purpose. It's not found in the rush. It's not discovered in constant movement. Purpose reveals itself when you slow down long enough to listen to what your heart is trying to say. When you get quiet enough to hear the whisper of God directing you, reassuring you that your life has meaning beyond what the world sees. But that whisper often gets lost in the shouting of stress, comparison, and deadlines. That's why some of the most powerful things God wants to speak to you are waiting on the other side of stillness. You don't have to do everything. You don't have to be everywhere. You don't have to please everyone. That pressure you feel to constantly perform, constantly respond, constantly prove, that's from culture. That's from fear. That's from insecurity. But God's voice says, I'll be still and know. It says, my grace is sufficient. Come to me and I will give you rest. He's not asking you to do more. He's inviting you to trust more. And that trust begins when you clear the clutter and create space for Him to move. When you make room for peace, you start to see life differently. You don't react to everything. You don't carry the same emotional weight. You walk with a quiet strength. You think with clarity. Your joy isn't shaken by temporary setbacks because your soul is anchored in something deeper. And when you create that space, it becomes easier to discern your purpose. Because now you're not running on fumes. You're operating from overflow. You're not guessing. You're aligned. Creating space also means making hard decisions. It means evaluating your schedule, your habits, your relationships, and asking, is this helping me grow? Is this bringing me peace? Is this aligned with my calling? And if the answer is no, then maybe it's time to let it go. Not because you're selfish, but because you're serious about your destiny. You can't afford to waste your energy on what doesn't serve your future. There are people who need what's inside you. There are lives waiting to be touched through your purpose, but you'll never access that if you're constantly buried under unnecessary weight. It's okay to rest. It's okay to slow down, to protect your peace like your life depends on it. Because it does. Everything flows from a healthy soul. Your creativity, your joy, your strength, your discernment. It all comes from within. And when your inner world is chaotic, your outer world can't flourish. But when your soul is settled, you can thrive in the environment. You can build, you can lead, you can pour into others from a place of wholeness. Don't let the pace of the world rob you of the peace God offers. Don't let people's demands drown out your own purpose. You were created for more than just surviving the day. You were created to live with direction, with fulfillment, with a deep sense of meaning. But it won't happen by default. It happens by design. Make room, clear the space. Get rid of the clutter, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and watch how peace begins to flow again. Watch how clarity returns. Watch how purpose starts to come alive in ways you've never experienced before. The life you dream of isn't just about what you remove. So today, make the decision to create space for peace to guard your heart and for purpose to guide your steps. You don't need everything. You just need the right things. And when you give them space, they will grow into something beautiful and powerful in your life. You weren't created to live heavy. You weren't designed to walk around carrying the weight of regret, bitterness, doubt, or pain. There's a lightness, a freedom, a joy that comes when you make the decision to empty out the negative. When you let go of what you can't control, you begin to feel your peace return. When you release the weight of unforgiveness, your heart becomes lighter. When you stop feeding self-doubt, confidence rises again. When you refuse to relive the past, the future starts to look brighter. When you detach from toxic influences, your soul can finally breathe. And when you create space for peace and purpose, you begin to live the life God intended all along. You may not be able to change everything around you. People may still act the same. Life may still throw challenges your way. But when you've done the work inside, when you've cleared out the clutter, the heaviness, the distractions, then nothing on the outside has the power to shake what's anchored within. That's the kind of life you were meant to live. Not perfect, not pressure-free, but purposeful, peaceful, and powerful. So today, don't just hear these words, live them. Start the process, clean out what's weighing you down. Make room for what lifts you up. Your future is too valuable. Your calling is too important. Your peace is too precious. And step into the new strength, clarity, and joy that is waiting for you. It's time to empty out the negative so God can fill you with everything good.